Great. Well, hello and welcome, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to Shrinktoberfest. I'm Kevin McMenamin, your host for today. And with me, as always, is my partner in organized retail crime, Jack Britton. Jack, how are you this wonderful fall day? You look very festive today.
I'm living the dream, Kevin. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey, and thanks everybody for joining us. We've got a couple of cool sessions this afternoon that we're pretty excited about. We've got some good speakers lined up. I'm going to start as usual with our thank you to our sponsors. Today, our sponsors are Sensormatic and Genetec. If you guys don't know who Sensormatic or Genetec are, highly recommend that you check them out. Show them a little love. Without our sponsors, we can't put on these education sessions. So we really appreciate you all taking the time to check them out and learn a little bit more about them. So thank you very much for that. Let me tell you a little bit more about both Sensormatic and Genetec. So Sensormatic is on the forefront of loss prevention innovation that also delivers great visibility into shrink and improves operational efficiency. Our innovative solutions are designed to help retailers protect their merchandise, prevent shrink, and fight the threats posed by retail crime, while still delivering a frictionless experience for shoppers. Please visit them at sensormatic.com to learn more. And Genetec. Genetec Inc. is a technology company with a portfolio that encompasses security, intelligence, and operations. The company's flagship product, the Genetec Security Center, is a physical security platform that unifies IP-based video surveillance, access control, automatic license plate recognition, or ALPR, communications, and analytics. For more information about Genetec, please visit them at www.genetec.com. And there we have it. We also want to thank our education sponsor, the Loss Prevention Foundation. If you are LPQ or LPC certified, you'll want to definitely keep track of today's webinar because you have qualified for 3 continuing education credits. 1, 2, 3 continuing education credits. So you definitely want to keep track of that. And again, a big thank you to the LPF for helping to sponsor today's webinar. And next, of course, before we get started, and I'm going to do this again at the very end. So if you missed this QR code at the moment, hopefully you'll catch it at the end. But if you're not already subscribed to Loss Prevention Magazine, then you are nuts. You should be getting this sent to your home, to your office. You get it all for FREE free. So please scan the QR code if you're not already subscribed. And let's get you a copy of Loss Prevention Magazine in your mailbox. All right, Mr. Britton. You are up, sir, to introduce our first speaker.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Leading us off today will be Richelle Stento. She's a senior financial institution policy analyst with the Currency Education Program. Her and her team have been great partners. Richelle, can you tell us a little bit more about the Currency Education Program and what it is before we get started here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to get my video on here, and I'll cover that a little bit in my presentation too. But essentially, our mission is to ensure the integrity and use of U.S. currencies. So we provide free education and information resources to the public. We do a lot of outreach with retailers and financial institutions, law enforcement, just to make sure that they're aware of the security and design features of U.S. currency.
Terrific.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to today's session, Richelle. Not sure if you're aware of it, but you guys are one of our top downloads for your past sessions that you've done with us. So congratulations for holding that very auspicious title. And we're really excited to hear more about the Currency Education Program.
Awesome. Great. Can you see my screen? Can you confirm you can see my screen?
We can.
We got it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to do a little bit of a genuine currency overview just to give some refreshers on the security and design features of U.S. currency, and then get into a little bit about our program and the resources that we provide. And I have some questions and prompts in here too. So let me actually get the chat on my other screen so I can see as questions might come in. So I'm actually going to start off with a question first with how much counterfeit currency do you think circulated domestically in 2022? If you want to put in a guess in the chat, I'll put the answer on the screen in about 15 seconds. Okay, so it's actually $78.3 million. And you all really are the first line of defense against that counterfeit entering circulation. So that's why retailers particularly are a really top priority stakeholder group for us. We also do a lot of outreach with financial institutions, law enforcement, and the casino and gaming industry as well. If you follow us on any of our channels, we actually did a webinar series this October. And right after this, I have the law enforcement session, which I'll be giving a really similar presentation to what I'm giving you all today. Here are just some examples of counterfeit being in the news. I'm sure a lot of you are very aware with these coming through potentially your stores and how that is reported in the media. And I'll talk a little bit about this first one. Burlington police say counterfeit bills being passed at an area of business, and what they were saying was that the ink kind of felt off and the paper felt really different. We do have a resource called a cash assist app that I'll go over a little bit later that will help cash handlers both in training and even on the job identify help you identify what you should be looking for when you're handling cash that might make it feel a little bit off. And then secondly, this counterfeit reported in Houston County. Motion picture use only was stamped on the front of it. I wonder if some of you have been seeing that come through your stores as well. We do have a resource called Tips to Spot Easy to Detect Counterfeit Notes. On it, it does specifically mention some of these things that are really obvious if you just take 1 second to look at the note. If there's foreign writing on it, foreign text on it, and then this, for motion picture use only is a really clear sign that it's a counterfeit note. So who we are, the CEP, we are part of the Federal Reserve Board in Washington, D.C. We ensure the integrity of and trust in the U.S. dollar by providing information and training resources to the public. We do this in collaboration with some of our interagency partners to maintain global cash handlers' confidence in the U.S. dollar. Those partners are the United States Secret Service and the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And why do we exist? Currency education is essential, and I get this question a lot, especially when we're at conferences. Isn't paper money going away? And what about a central bank digital currency? The value of U.S. currency in circulation does continue to grow. And what we've learned from different data sets, specifically the Diary of Consumer Payment Choice that our partners at FRB San Francisco host or facilitate, is that under a certain income household threshold, there's portions of the population that are using cash for their everyday transactions. So it definitely is still important for us to continue to do this outreach and education. And the public, from consumers to workers, are really that first line of defense against circulation of these counterfeit notes. And to be able to report a counterfeit note, people need to first be able to identify if the note is counterfeit. So we're really here to seek, educating the global stakeholders about how to define and identify and report a counterfeit to protect from monetary losses. So now we're going to go over a little bit some of the common myths about cash and counterfeits. All of the three on the screen right now are myths, and we're going to kind of go through each one and debunk them. So the first one, older U.S. bills expire after time. That is a myth. U.S. dollars printed after 1914 remain legal tender and do not expire. This is really important as we go into a new family of U.S. currency, for people to know that older designs do remain legal tender. The next myth is dollar bills will be recalled or devalued over time. That is also a myth. There will not be a recall or devaluation of any current or older series notes. And then another myth, U.S. currency is made of paper. Banknotes are actually printed on a special blend of paper consisting of 25% linen and 75% cotton. So how do you authenticate U.S. currency? I'm going to do a genuine currency overview. I won't go into as much technical detail as maybe in our webinar series and skim through some of these slides, but we're just going to go over the current design of U.S. currency and the design and security features that can help you authenticate your notes. So there is over $2.2 trillion in circulation worldwide. Between 1/2 and 2/3 of that value are held outside of the United States. We do have the biggest slice of the global market of currency. So our currency is used in a lot of countries as their primary currency, their dollarized countries, or their secondary currency, as shown earlier. I actually didn't have that slide in here. I do have a map that shows some of the territories that use US currency that I took out for time purposes. There are 7 denominations in circulation today, all I'm sure you're very familiar with: the 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and $100 note. Each denomination features a portrait of a famous American statesman on its front and an image reflective of the nation's history on its back. And redesigning United States currency. So again, older styles of Federal Reserve notes are not recalled and remain legal tender. The US government periodically redesigns Federal Reserve notes to make them easier to use, but more difficult to counterfeit. So there's really a security focus around why we redesign US currency. The first major design change was in 1996, and the current style of notes, 2004, has enhanced security features and incorporates subtle color into the background of the notes. So I'm going to go over in this session today the 2004 style, ones that you all are really familiar with. The most recent designs of US currency was the second major currency redesign. The family goes from the $5 through the $100 note and was called the next generation currency design. So it has the public use security features that the public and cash handlers such as yourself and your staff use. There's paper-based security features and printed security features. The paper-based security features: red and blue security fibers, security thread, and a 3D security ribbon. And the printed security features: microprinting and color shifting ink. So this is a view of all 5 denominations that were redesigned in the 2004 style family. As you can see, it incorporated background colors and large borderless portraits. This family began with the 2004 series $20 note, and the last denomination that was issued was the $100 note. And this family has the same architecture of style throughout the family and previous families of banknotes. So basically what that means is our currency has a distinct look to it, where the borders are, where our seals are, where the seals appear, where the portrait sits are basically standardized so that they are easily recognizable. And this goes back to the previous statement. Since we have a global currency, it is really important that people around the world can easily recognize that it is US currency. So a lot of time was spent into making sure we have very distinct looking banknotes. Okay, so we're going to go over the paper-based security features in the 2004 style. So when we look at the paper here without any ink on it, it's really easy to see what the paper-based security features are, other than the red and blue fibers, which you actually cannot see in this resolution. I do have some slides that will show them more clearly. So when we look at the paper, you can see that the 1 and 2 are quite plain, and the rest of the banknotes have the security threads and watermarks. So these features can be viewed best with transmitted light, so backlight. And these features were designed through our reprographic technology, so color copiers, which reproduce images using reflected light. And the $100 note incorporates an additional 3D security ribbon. It is in the paper and is viewable from both the front and the back. When it's viewed from the back, that security thread goes through the entire note, so from top to bottom completely through. And this is a really important thing to know because a lot of times counterfeiters don't often get that correct. So it becomes discontinuous, but these dark areas right here that I'm pointing with on my screen are the paper bridges that go with the note. So we're going to talk about the $100 style 2004 note, and this was issued in 2013. And going over the paper security notes, security features, if you hold the note to light, you'll see an embedded thread running vertically to the left of Franklin's portrait, visible through transmitted light. The thread is imprinted with the letters USA and numeral 100 in an alternating pattern and is visible from both sides of the note. It is a very bold text that is only used on the $100 note, and we'll talk a little bit about why there are those distinctions between denominations. And the security thread glows bright pink when illuminated by ultraviolet light. And I actually will have a trick later on in my presentation on how to remember the colors of the UV threads. When you hold the note to light, you can look for a faint image of Benjamin Franklin in the blank space to the right of the note and a 100 to the left of the note, and the image is visible from both sides. And like I said, the $100 has an additional security feature added to it called the 3D security ribbon. This paper-based security feature is only on the $100 note, and the ribbon runs the entire height of the note. It has 3 bridges that go over it. Again, you can see we saw that at a different resolution earlier on in the presentation. So the following motion occurs on the ribbon when tilting the note. The bells change to 100s when the note is tilted front to back, and the bells and 100s move in the opposite direction of the tilt. So when you tilt the note back and forth, the bells and 100s move side to side. If you tilt it side to side, they move up and down. And this feature really enables your user to authenticate the note during normal currency transaction movement. So when you receive the note at a point of sale. Moving on to the 50, this was issued in 2004, and it features subtle background colors of blue and red. When you hold the note to light, you'll see an embedded security thread running vertically to the right of President Grant's portrait. The thread is imprinted with the text letters USA and numeral 50 and a small flag in alternating pattern. And the security thread glows bright yellow when illuminated under UV light. And this is showing the watermark. You look for an image of President Grant to the space to the right of the note. Moving on to the 20, this was actually the first denomination of the 2004 style family that was issued. It was issued in October of 2003, and it features subtle background colors of green and peach. And when illuminated by UV light, the security thread glows green. And one of the reasons why we keep changing the location of the security thread is so that it differentiates the paper by denomination, so that it makes it more difficult for counterfeiters to reuse lower denominations and turning them into higher denominations, essentially by bleaching the note, which some of you may have experienced in the past. And moving on to the $20 watermark, if you hold the note to light, there's an image of President Andrew Jackson in the space to the right of the note. The $10 note was issued in 2006, and it features subtle background colors of orange, yellow, and red. The thread is the same width as in the previous family style. The thread fluoresces orange when illuminated by UV light, and the thread is imprinted with the text USA 10 and a small flag in an alternating pattern. And the watermark contains a photo of Secretary Alexander Hamilton in this blank space to the right of the portrait. And moving on to the 5, this was issued in 2008. We will see some differences in how the security features were deployed in the $5 versus the previous notes we just reviewed. The $5 note was redesigned to protect the higher denominations from counterfeiters, removing the ink from the note, what we were talking about earlier, bleaching the note and printing the image on a higher denomination on the genuine paper. And this note features subtle background colors of light purple and gray. And this embedded thread is placed between the portrait and the treasury seal, and it reads vertically down the note. This is the only denomination thread that reads vertically. Again, that's to differentiate the lower denominations from the higher denominations. And the thread is imprinted with the letters USA and numeral 5 in alternating pattern, and it glows blue when illuminated by UV light. And instead of a portrait watermark, which we just saw in the previous denominations, the Lincoln watermark was actually replaced with numeral 5 watermark to the right of the note. So the previous family, it did have a watermark of Lincoln on it, and counterfeiters really like that because, again, they could bleach out the note and there would still be a portrait where it was expected to be on the 120. So as a way to deter the $5 from being counterfeited, we switched out the portrait watermark on the 5 to a numeral watermark. And we also added an additional watermark, these 5s right here to the left side of the note. And these were done, again, to protect the $100 note from being counterfeited. So this is that image. I said I was going to give you all a trick of how to memorize what these colors are. So from top down, it is red/pink, yellow, and green, like a traffic light. And then there's orange and blue. So the way I like to remember this, and I actually learned this from our partners at the Secret Service, was the 10th month of the year is October, and October equals pumpkins, so you can remember the orange. And the 5th month of the year is May, and I try to remember that what the Secret Service kind of gave us a tip on was pools opening on Memorial Day, and that's how you can associate that back to the 5, with May being the 5th month out of the year. So now we're going to go over the printed security features, both microprinting and optically variable ink, which we also call color shifting ink. I'm only going to do the microprinting on one denomination because it can get pretty heavy going through all of them. But basically, microprinting is very small lettering incorporated into the printed image. So we have 2 different types of microprinting. And it is important to note that microprinting is not technically an authentication feature, but if unreadable, it could indicate a suspect note. So it's very difficult to replicate this microprinting with an inkjet printer. Some counterfeit notes will have microprinting that is readable, or microprinting in some locations that are readable, but not others. So it's a really good indication that you should be looking at the other security features to verify, in addition to the microprinting, if the microprinting is looking very unclear and blurry. So this is looking at the $100 2004 style microprinting. There are very small text or microprinting on the 2004 style banknotes, and each denomination has different microprinting locations. Again, I'm only going to be going over this denomination. In the black intaglio image on the front of the note, it's microprinted the United States of America. It's incorporated into Franklin's jacket collar. You can see that right here. This is zoomed in from this section of the banknote. And then USA below the portrait, and 100 within the vertical borders of the notes. So you can see this vertical border of the notes over here. And the microprinting is also incorporated into the color background images on the front of the note. USA 100 is printed below the quill in a copper color ink, and USA 100 is printed in blue around the opening for the watermark. So that's shown right here. It's zoomed in. And it's also, like I said earlier, I was going to point out this is a really good example of these red and blue fibers zoomed in here. So if you're checking a $1 or a $2 note, that's the primary security feature that you can look at. And these are on all of the denominations as well. So this image right here zoomed in shows really well the red and blue fibers. And then on the back of the note, USA microprinting is incorporated into the vertical borders on the green intaglio image and the blue background around the watermark opening. So again, to keep with the timing, I'm not going to go over the microprinting of each denomination, but we do have an online training course and education resources that review those features on each denomination. And again, microprinting itself is not a security feature, but it is very useful in determining the quality of the note. So if you see microprinting, but you're not able to read it with magnification, it may indicate that you need to look at other security features to authenticate the note. So another security feature you can look at in that case is the optically variable ink. We also call this color shifting ink, which is what I will continue to call it throughout the presentation, because optically variable can be a bit of a tongue twister at times. We had the security feature in the previous family, and that ink changed from green to black. And the ink on this family changes from copper to green. So the color shifting ink, it's a security ink used to print the lower right counter on the front of the note. The 2004 style 100, 50, 20, and 10 have numerals that shift colors when tilting the note. And these shift from copper to green. And it can be used to authenticate the note during normal cash handling motion. So receiving a note or counting a note at a point of sale. And the $5 denomination does not incorporate OVI. And again, to differentiate the 100 as best as possible, the 2004 style 100 does have an additional color shifting ink feature called the bell in the inkwell. The color shifting bell is in the copper inkwell, and the matching background of the inkwell enhances the effect of the shift of the color shifting ink. And the bell will shift from copper to green when tilting the note. So let's test a little bit of what you just learned. I'm going to put an image on the screen, and if you can use the chat, if I'm able to see it, you can guess if you think it is genuine or counterfeit.
So Richelle, the chat is disabled so that participants can use the Q&A.
Okay, yep, that's fine. I'll just talk through each one of these. So this is actually a genuine note. The image is showing a backlight right here, and the $20 note has a watermark of President Jackson located to the right of the portrait, which is correct. This one is counterfeit, and the image is showing magnification of the note, and the microprinting should look clear and easy to read. So like I said earlier, this is microprinting that is blurry, and then you would continue on to look at the other security features to authenticate the note or determine if it's counterfeit. So this one is counterfeit, and I trick a lot of people during my webinars during this. Like I had said earlier during the overview, the image is showing a backlight where the watermark is on the $50 note, and the watermark is in it. This is the incorrect watermark. So this should be a watermark portrait of President Grant. This is a 5. So this is actually the watermark from the $5 note. And this note is genuine. The image is showing a UV light on the security thread, which is the correct color yellow for the $50 note. Again, going back to that stoplight, red, yellow, green. And then this is also counterfeit. So the image is showing a backlight where the watermark is, and this is the incorrect watermark. This is not a watermark of Franklin, that is Jackson. So how can we help you? Going back to the CEP and the resources that we have. So this is just kind of an overview of some of the things from mobile application to a website to hard copy and digital education resources. This is our website, uscurrency.gov. It's kind of going over the different areas that we have from denomination breakdowns, and what that was just showing the breakdown. You can go to each denomination and actually see a video of some of these security features and what they should look like in motion. And we have a bunch of materials, again, that you can order hard copy for free or download on your own. And they are available in multiple languages. Most of our hard copy materials are only English and Spanish, but our digital materials are available in about 23 languages. So I'm going to go over just really quickly a couple that are specific to the retail industry as well. So we do have this Know the $20 table tent card. You place this table tent card by registers to remind you of ways to quickly and discreetly check if a $20 banknote is real. This is really important because the $20 is the most counterfeited denomination in the US. We also have a resource called a quick reference card. Again, this is available for hard copy and a digital download. And it highlights the 3 ways to quickly and discreetly check if a banknote is real: feeling the paper, tilting the note, and checking the note with light. And then we do have a specific cashier toolkit. So this is a really great resource for cashiers who need to learn how to authenticate Federal Reserve notes. This actually brings together a bunch of the resources that we have on our website into just one toolkit for cashiers. So we took a look at all the resources that we had, determined which ones would be helpful in training and maintaining that education and training with cashiers, and put them into one toolkit. And then we also have an interactive online training course. It takes about 20 minutes to complete. And the course is designed to help users learn how to use the security features of US currency. It can also be downloaded. And when you download it, it shows all of the different screens of the training course, which are really closely related to the slides that I just had on the screen going over the security and design features of each denomination. So it's a really great complement to these types of webinars and these genuine currency overviews as well. And then we also have a mobile application called Cash Assist. It's available for Android and Apple devices. It's a really great training companion for cash handlers across industries that need help authenticating US currency. It has 2 main features: a denomination detector and a tilt check simulator. So the denomination detector, you use your camera to take a photo of the bill, and it will determine the denomination of the bill. And then the tilt check simulator will reveal how the security features of banknotes function when in motion for that denomination. We also create visual resources for the public and for industry, and content that we leverage on social media. So we have various videos, imagery. We even have a podcast called Noteworthy that we're currently in the process of producing season 2 of. And we are on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter, now X. So please follow along on those channels. We're constantly updating our resources and providing new resources, communicating about webinars that we're hosting. So we would love for you to follow along our channels. We also communicate on any currency developments, and we work with our partners in the comm space to make any updates on our currency available on the Federal Reserve's frbservices.org. And this also includes the launch of a new series. So while building awareness around design and security features of U.S. currency is always critical, it becomes even more essential as new designs of U.S. currency are expected to be introduced in 2026. So one of the reasons why we're here today is to spread awareness and ensure you and your organizations are well prepared for that. Our program will be leading the communications effort on that public outreach education effort when those new designs are available. So we highly encourage you to follow along, and we will certainly be posting updates as it gets closer to that date. And feel free to reach out to us. We really are always available to help. That's what we're here for. So if you have any questions or any issues, any questions about our resources, any specific questions or things that you would like to address within your organization, if you have any specific currency education needs, please reach out to us. We are happy to help and eager to help. And I hope to be able to connect with some of you after this webinar as well.
Excellent. Well, Joe, thank you again. If any of the questions come up in the chat that you guys have time to answer, then please go right ahead and answer those while we move on to our next session. So thank you again for that.